FlyOver State of Film was shot in front of a live studio audience.
On the last episode, if you saw us, I had 3 random piece of papers. All 3 movies were movies I've never seen before. Joe won the toss-up. He picked The Rocketeer, 1991 Disney movie. Joe Justin directed, starring Billy Campbell, Jennifer Connelly, Alan Arkin, Timothy Dalton, among other actors, including a wasted and young Margot Martindale.
Oh yeah.
And it's
Alan Arkin.
unofficial superhero movies of the early 90s. It could have been picked for that question that Brian asked, in theory. So I just one of those movies that people constantly talk about or refer to, or at least mention every now and again as a cult classic or as one of those touchstones in their childhood. And I've just never gotten around to watching it, and I thought, you know what, fuck it, let's just do it. Was this the first time watch for any of you, or was it just
it was a first time watch for me. I thought I'd seen it before, but I didn't.
First time watch since like it came out, and I was a child, so
first time watch.
First time watch, basically, yeah.
How about you, TJ?
Yeah, since I was a kid, this is like a movie you got like Pizza Hut pizza back in the day, just like a free fucking VHS. I can see why, but we can,
All right, so that's good. So it's pretty much everybody got fresh eyes on this movie. The story centers around this pilot for trade. He's essentially like a trick pilot, a race pilot,
stunt pilot,
Yeah.
Wears a clown suit.
Yeah, he's just like trying to survive, and he's good at riding planes. They got this brand new plane that is supposed to win nationals, whatever the fuck that means. They don't never explain what nationals is for planes. And
the national trick planing.
Yeah, I just thought it was like a trick plane.
Nationals.
Although I laughed hysterically at the little fucking tube he was in.
Yeah.
It was just his head in a fucking box. I was like, no way I'm flew in that.
Yeah.
So he's flying over some cornfields, and there are criminals being chased by the FBI. His plane gets shot down. The criminals hide a rocket pack in their airplane field, hangar base, whatever you want to call it. They end up with that rocket backpack, and him and his mechanic decide to modify it and create kind of a suit for him that he essentially becomes a Rocketeer. Now that suit is being coveted over by this Nazi spy played by Timothy Dalton. And Timothy was...
It's not revealed that he's a Nazi till the very end, though. I mean, he's a bad guy and he's a scumbag. Yeah. And he's trying to get a hold of this, but like they hold off on.
According to
that's
Disney,
one thing about the movie that I knew was that Timothy Dalton was a Nazi, and I was shocked how long they waited to drop it.
Well, according to Disney, where I watched it at Disney Plus, that is literally in the description. I guess Disney Plus ain't fucking around with cliffhangers, or
they don't care about the pacing of the movie at all. Or anything.
That's dumb. That was a big reveal.
Yeah, so Timothy is the bad guy, and he wants it back, and essentially they just fight over the rocket.
He's basically Errol Flynn, kind of.
Yeah.
You got actual Howard Hughes in the movie. He's the guy who's supposed to create the
Tony
rocket
Stark.
pack.
Yeah. I was literally thinking.
So Howard Stark's based on Howard Hughes.
Yeah.
Literally thinking before they said Howard Hughes, I was like, that's like a Howard Stark, because I'm watching all the Marvel movies, so it's fresh in my mind.
Well, and also this movie does feel like a little bit Iron Man and a little bit Captain America. It makes sense because the guy who directed the Rocketeer directed First Avenger, so I mean, it stands to reason.
It makes sense.
Like madness too, and
yeah, sure.
It's crazy, actually. Like so many years later, they're like, "Oh, we want you to make the same movie as Captain America."
Yeah, kind of.
Well, I mean, the one thing I will give Joe Johnston, who also directed Home Alone, and a couple just like he makes
Home Alone 3,
no,
right?
No, that's Chris Columbus directed Home Alone.
No, he made 3. Home Alone.
Yeah, he made 3.
Home Alone 3, okay.
Which I actually saw in theaters, and other than not having Macaulay Culkin, just has a good like feel to it. I feel like Joe Johnston has a really good feel of just like those moments, like when Captain America jumps on the grenade, or even like when he first puts on the suit to go save the dude who's trying to save his job, and the clown suit is just puttering away in the plane, which is cool because there's parts in this movie to where like who is the Dustin Hoffman-ish his like mechanic guy?
Alan Arkin.
Probably my favorite character in this movie.
Oh, he's a great actor.
Yeah, I know. I should know his name. I've seen on a bunch of shit. Just in my head, like if Dustin Hoffman played that same role, I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. But there's that one moment,
Alan Arkin, by the way.
Yeah, when he gets in the GB and he puts his gum on the fin, and he's like, oh yeah, that gum's really gonna keep you up in the air, keep the weighted down. And he pulls it off, and like later use that for his rocket pack. I wish they would like go back and show like he did that before and it helped him out at some point. When they just kind of like it's a throwaway, then it's not a throwaway. It's like a weird like callback.
I thought it helped him out
Yeah, at one point with the rocket pack when he gets shot.
Yeah, it starts out as a thing for good luck, and then they actually use it to plug the hole, and then it becomes it has a pretty good little arc. The gum has a pretty good little arc.
Yeah, the gum has a better arc than many characters in this movie. But it has this wholesome quality to it, especially between Alan Arkin and the pilot. I'm blanking on his name because somebody help me out with his name.
Cliff something Seaborough.
Yeah,
it's
Cliff and him have such a good
relationship.
But speaking of him being forgettable, I think it's kind of it's a point of thing. Like aside from you had Harrison Ford, obviously, like as Indiana Jones, who brought that kind of 40 serial vibe back in the 80s, and then like. Everyone tried, and aside from Brendan Fraser and The Mummy, they could never nail it. They never quite got. Even we're watching this. Me and Harrison are watching The Rocketeer, and he's like, "He reminds me of the guy from The Mummy." I was like, "Yeah, they got close. They got close." Yep. Brendan Fraser was just a little too young. He would have been The Rocketeer.
So
my note said like this movie would be so much better if Brendan Fraser was the lead.
100%. Absolutely.
But like so many movies tried to hit that like that Indiana Jones mark, and nobody could quite get it. You know, the like 40s style hero, and they kept trying. And this is like I said, this isn't bad. And I think the guy, whoever plays Cliff, who's unfortunately, I mean, he's a working actor still to this day. He's just not a name that I remember.
It's like the bad guy. He's the bad guy.
He's good in this though.
So
like he's solid. Like
he's the bad guy in Enough.
Yeah, he's like the abusive husband of Jennifer Lopez in Enough. That's where I know him.
So I think
you know all Jennifer Lopez movies, you racist.
Yeah. I love, but even though Cliff is forgettable, like TJ said, Alan Arkin is awesome, but another actor that really eats up this role is Timothy Dalton. Like he's such a good bad guy. Like his introduction where he's just so disheveled and sweaty and out of control. It's such a great introduction to the character, but he becomes like this suave actor that he's just like manipulating everybody. And it got to the point that I kind of hoped that he was the giant in disguise. I don't know why.
Yeah. When the giant would peel off his face and it would
it was him. And
That
there's a
makeup job
moment
is
that
distracting.
I literally laughed so fucking hard in this movie, and it was when he crushes the dude, right? And then in the hospital, and he goes outside, and they show his feet, and he scurries
He
away.
shuffles. I also had an audible laugh when they show his giant hand grab the tiny doorknob. I was like, that's really funny. Like, that's an insert shot they didn't need to do, but I'm glad they did it.
And I actually I was looking information as to who that guy is, and he played Officer Hal on all of the Naked Gun movies where they just show his pecs, and Leslie talks to him like, "Hey, Hal," and that's
Oh,
him
yeah.
in all the movies. But yeah,
So TJ in our chat hit this movie right though. Actually, this was just on the heels of Dick Tracy.
And this guy made me. I think the villains. Why I think
The
that 'cause they
villains,
had like
yeah,
mush
He
face.
looks the makeup job very reminiscent of Dick
It's
Tracy.
Dick
Yeah,
Tracy.
so I was like, there's when I saw him, like that's why I fucking thought this was Dick Tracy because this big old idiot. Yeah, Joe, that's genius. Yeah.
Yeah. So you texted us that, right? And I thought to myself, I'm like, I got the same vibes, like even with the one guy, but like it's the same. Like, hey, I'm a 1950s guy in 1990. Like, what are you doing, toots? Like, it was the whole vibe. Like,
I'm gonna order some food, but first, how about some pie? You want some pie? I don't like the music. And just start shooting
Like-
shit in the fucking restaurant.
I will say this though, Jennifer Connelly
Oof.
stole the movie.
2 for 2.
They were
with,
like, you don't want to lose her, and you're like, yeah, you don't want to lose her.
you don't want to lose her.
I
2
was
for 2.
worried they were
2
kind of like gonna do more of a two. Like I was, I was watching a movie and it's from the '90s, pretending to be the '40s. So I'm like, they're gonna really damsel her out, and they didn't. They made her smart. They made her on top of things.
No,
like,
she
and I like
was
that.
2 for 2, knocking out people with stuff over the head,
Mhm.
and 1 for 1, murdering Nazis outside of a blimp.
No,
Sorry.
no, but
So
I'll
she had
say
a good track.
this. I will say this though, they didn't do that, but at the same time, I guess this is the movie's fault. Like when the scene with her and Timothy Dalton and the rapey scene, I was very nervous for her.
Oh,
I
sure,
was
yeah.
like, this
Oh
is
yeah, but
wrong.
her calling him out on the lines that he was saying. There's an episode on Friends that they do exactly the same thing. Like Joey's trying to seduce a woman that is a fan of his show, and every time he's like, "Oh, your eyes are like the color of blah blah," and she's like, "Wait, that's from episode 5 of season 2." He's like,
Is that Brooke Shields, the obsessed fan?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Classic.
it's like I tweeted out, guys. This is a wholesome movie. Like
Yeah,
it feels very like that was nice.
It felt
We
like eating cereal with cold milk. Like it was just comfortable and refreshing, but it really wasn't like a full meal. Like
And also, you're gonna wake up at 3 in the morning and shit your pants on the
yeah.
toilet.
Like
Like,
we're
you
all
wanted
fans of my
something
wife.
else.
We're all fans of my wife in the show. Like she didn't watch
my
it. She was like reading a book, and I was like, I think you'll like this movie. I haven't seen it, but I think you'll like this movie. And she's like, sure. Then eventually she picked up and she's like, I'm not sure I like that. And I was like, you didn't watch it. Like you picked up on the tones of what you thought. You think it's like 50 years old. You'll probably like it if you watched it.
Laura walks across the back of the street with a black eye.
I like the movie.
He's got
the
big
movie.
sunglasses
Like
on. Like,
It was cool. I was like, oh, because it's like in like 1938 Los Angeles, which is tight. But like when she leaves him in the restaurant, which I don't understand why. It seems like it's a restaurant in Alabama where she gets a thing flown in the soup and it hits her blouse, and then then she gets on
That
a
scene
public
it was
But then the cool shit when he goes up in the first ride with the Rocketeer thing, and he goes up and he goes next to that plane that's supposed to be like a plane that carried people back in the fucking 30s and 40s and shit like that. And like the steward is hanging out the window. It's like, I mean, I'm sure it's not completely accurate, but it's like cool to see shit like that and how they're able to like make it look so fucking.
So
I guess, old.
So TJ, I have a question. Was this movie supposed to be, maybe Brian or Yusuf knows this, was this movie supposed to be, like, followed up with him actually knowing what the fuck he's doing?
Oh,
Like the
like, do you think,
movie?
like, this is obviously an origin? Do you think,
Yeah, I
they
think
were
it was an
planning on
origin.
Yeah.
sequels? They're
Because
gonna
it didn't make
sequelize the
sense.
Rocketeer.
Yeah, because the whole movie
Technically,
was
it was a
like,
bomb.
oh, I'm funny. From a
Well, they don't
super.
really like use like because back in the day you can't really. I mean, this would be a good topic for another episode if we can just kind of. But like, think about movies before like the Marvel way of doing things. A lot of things or I mean, I guess some did. They'd be like, so and so will be back in another one, but like they even did it in Macamee. But like, there weren't a lot of movies that did Easter eggs or promised sequels. It'd be like something had success and someone goes, "What if we did a second one of that?" You know what I
I'm
mean?
sure if the Rocketeer would have been successful, they would have made
Was it?
another one, but it wasn't, and I bet
I
they
was
didn't
gonna say, like, was
plan
it
on it. They were just like, they probably didn't
No,
have a
it was
second idea.
yeah, it was an office bomb. Like the second idea was like woven in when she like gives him the schematic. So you
Yeah, at
know
the
that
end.
he's gonna do it again. He's
Yeah.
gonna
But
have
you-
his stuff.
But I think another thing that hurts.
So that's
these
my
type of films,
question.
too, is like, what year was this made? Like 91.
91.
91, I think
91.
it came out.
Just think about like as the
Well,
years go by.
it's 30 years old. This
Yeah, to
year,
make a
so.
period piece where you have to go back probably costs 20 times more money than making something where you can use live
But the
sets.
sets were very limited.
Yeah, it's like in a
So I
country.
don't think it would have been that expensive to do. But something that I wanted to touch on, like you mentioned the soup scene and all that stuff. I could not fucking stop laughing at the fact that the singer of the club is Jan Levinson.
Oh, one
And
night.
just kept
It's just
imagining
You were thinking about
Wait,
Jasmine
really?
Wynn's song? She called
And when
me
I make
Jasmine
you
Wynn
up,
song.
I just kept thinking about Jan.
I
It's
could not.
one
I could not
night.
stop laughing.
The bomb is under the stadium.
Like,
Oh.
like
I didn't even, honestly, I didn't even recognize her. That's hilarious.
I
No,
didn't.
Oh
No.
my god!
I catch
They showed
Fargo.
so
They had her,
many
like, her hair's really slicked down and, like, they got the a lot of eye
recognize her.
makeup on. She's real 20s-y.
I
Plus,
re-
she was
I-
young. She was super young.
No, I recognized her instantly, and I looked at Laura and I said, "That's Jan from The Office," and it was like the
She got
fucking.
bites?
I immediately thought of the song. Every time I see that woman, I think of One Night.
The Hunted.
Yeah. Oh man, hysterical. And Margot Martindale. Let's give a shout out to Margot.
Yeah,
Martindale.
shout out
Well,
Margot.
there's
She's
a lot, like I said,
national treasure.
tons of character actors in this popping up for sure.
Yeah. Who even like the dude who like who gets murdered and folded up, who I guess
Joe
ran
Polito.
Bigelow?
That's Joe
Yeah,
Polito.
Joe Polito. And then you had fucking Paulie from fucking
Yeah, Paul
Goodfellas
Sorvino,
showing
absolutely.
up.
Well, this
I
was
love
a,
Oh
the turn.
yeah,
I love
monsters.
the way he gets Paul Sorvino to turn on the, because he's like, I may be a crook, but I'm not a Nazi.
I'm not a
he'll, like,
Nazi supporter.
so
Yeah.
good.
Mobsters are
This
notoriously patriotic. Like they do not go
this
That's a
outside
real
of
thing.
America.
The mob 100% like watched the ports during World War II and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
this was a prequel to his character in Goodfellas. This
By-
was for Cicero.
by that Paul Cicero.
He
Right,
was
yeah,
like,
I feel
well,
there wasn't
got our
many.
hands dirty.
There wasn't a lot of juice on this fruit, but we got something out of it. So how about we go into the ratings?
Ratings phase.
Joe, what are you giving this movie?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with this. Like Polly from Goodfellas, I sliced the the garlic thin. I give this 6.8 notes in a soup. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, he did leave a note. So that's right. Brian, where are you going?
Yeah, I'm writing that same. I think I'd give this about a 6. It's just like a solid, straightforward, kind of like good Disney movie. Nothing too flashy, but like a little bit better than average. I think 6 is right in the wheelhouse. 6 pieces of gum that had a character arc.
Yeah. I'm gonna go next. That way TJ can close off and give us his movie for next
Oh
episode.
man, that's a TJ week, guys.
Yeah, I think
We know
it
it
was
won't be anything that you can find on HBO Max, right?
I love it. I love it, TJ. Guys, if you're not listening, you don't like me. I like a TJ week.
Fine, HBO Max will be back tomorrow. Don't worry.
Woo!
I don't know. Don't hold your breath. You never know, man. Life is wild. So yeah, I think it was a risk on my end to pick a movie that I've never seen in my life, but I literally picked a wet blanket. Like it was just a wet napkin, maybe. I don't know. What's the saying? Yeah, it was safe choice, and in the end, it was harmless. It just washed over me, and nothing.
Thankfully, this episode had a lot of other fun bits that'll
Yes.
carry it. You know,
Joe really carried this episode, and we are very thankful for him.
For real.
hey,
Yeah, it
real
was
quick before you give your review of this, what did you think of Flight of the Navigator?
I love the Flight of Night. I wished I picked the Flight of Navigator.
It was so
next
good.
movie.
So original.
So good.
It's so good. It's so funny, and
You
it's
got the
so,
time travel element and stuff. It's
I
Pee
love
Wee
it.
Herman as the voice of
Jusef,
the.
can I just ask Jusef one question? Should I watch it?
Yes, 100% watch it. It's so much fun.
It recommends me.
It has a lot of like you know, it's clearly a kids movie, and there's some nostalgia that probably other people would, you know, glaze over.
I
some
grew up with it, and it
I
feels like
had
one of those movies that nobody else but me has ever seen. And I always talk about it. I love Flight of the Navigator. It's so fun.
It's very good, and Pee Wee Herman is the voice of the ship, and he's funny.
Compliance.
Compliance. Yeah, it's good. I give Flight of the Navigator 8 out of 10, and this one I give. I agree, a 6. 6. Jennifer Connelly murdering blimp pilots.
Sure.
TJ.
I had fun with this.
Oh,
I haven't seen this.
Timothy Dalton has a fantastic death too. We didn't mention that.
Yeah,
We
that
didn't
is a good
actually
death.
really.
Such a good death.
We talked about the payoff of the gum, but we didn't. That's actually what
before you
leads to the
Yeah,
great
yeah.
death for Timothy Dalton.
Hey
Take
TJ, before you start, we didn't really talk about Timothy Dalton. I just want to mention really quick. He surprised the hell out of me, especially from coming from Bond. Like I thought his villain, he was just devious and fun, and I was like, oh shit,
Buzz.
Yeah.
yeah, well, in Hot Fuzz, but like, you guys know I all watched the Bonds last year. And
What?
I was
No,
like,
you've
oh,
never mentioned that before.
I was like, oh shit, T-Dalts, you doing your thing. Anyway, TJ, you do you.
I'm gonna give. I haven't seen this in a while. I did get this confused with Dick Tracy a lot as a kid growing up. I'll give this I'm right there with you guys. I'll probably give this like a 6. Left pieces of bubble gum all over. That guy just put
How
gum
the
everywhere.
fuck was the highest rated?
Or also Miss
Our
Pie.
highest, our wait. Oh, you're the highest rated. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I give it like a
When he came in
6.8.
at like 6.8, we all gave
No,
it
it's
6. That's fair.
It's a 6. Everybody said a 6. It's an average out.
6
I don't think
sexually
6.8 is off the
frustrated Miss
mark,
Pie.
though. I think you're fine.
Yeah.